Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. What are alien implants used for? What is the purpose? Now, we talk about this sometimes on the show. We all just wonder. Nobody really knows. This was a big discussion in the Patient 17 documentary from Jeremy Corbell some years back. It featured Dr. Roger Lear, the late Dr. Roger Lear. He actually died before the production was done, before it was done filming, before it was edited and put together. He unfortunately passed away. And Dr. Roger Lear didn't know what they were used for. Nobody really knows. We can only guess. But I did receive a message recently, just this week actually, from someone who I've talked about before. This is a retired electronics engineer, somebody who did work for the government. He worked for NASA, he worked for DARPA, the CIA, and amongst other government contractors doing electronics engineering type work. And he's been someone who talks to me, sends me emails on a regular basis over the last several years. And I know who this person is. I've talked about this before. This is a real guy, a real retired electronics engineer, and someone who actually had his own experience with an extraterrestrial. That's why I believe he's very interested in this. And he thinks there might be other reasons, not just the simple reasons like a lot of us talk about, is for tracking, things like that. There are other things that these objects could be, there's a different purpose for these objects apparently. Anyway, I'm going to read the email that he sent me, and we'll take it from there. He writes, people assume that the implants being found in abductees are only tracking or monitoring devices. But I don't believe that's a sufficient explanation for such a massive undertaking. Do the aliens really care where some ordinary guy goes day to day or what he says to his wife? I think not. On the other hand, if the implants are capable of generating AMMs, which stands for artificial molecular machines, then they could be slowly altering the physical bodies of the victims in any desired way. Assuming this morphing occurred solely in the brain, the victim would still resemble an ordinary person, but be linked into and controlled by the Hive. In this way, a small army of undercover agents could be created, and this is yet another aspect of the threat that we have good reason to be concerned about. Of course, there actually could be another race of aliens visiting our planet who have nothing to do with the mantises and greys. That may explain some of the reports that don't fit the usual pattern. However, I don't believe any of them have ever offered to help, so their presence really isn't a significant factor. After all, if you're getting mugged in New York City and 10 people are standing there watching, it's not those 10 people that you're going to be concerned with, it's the guy mugging you. That's why we need to stay focused on the mantis creatures and their biological robots, the Greys. Obviously, the military is dealing with a much greater threat than anything ever faced before, and they're trying to handle it the best way they know how. Unfortunately, the cover-up has now become a necessary part of that task. At this point, any official acknowledgement that aliens are active on our planet would very quickly be connected to the cattle mutilations, human abductions, genetic experiments, etc. This would be absolutely devastating to the military's credibility and to many of their senior officers, considering their record of deliberate deception and outright lies about the matter. On the other hand, a much better outcome would result if the cover-up can be continued until eventually an alien ship is spotted by a large crowd hovering over some major city. In that case, the realization that, quote, we are not alone, end quote, would be sudden and undeniable, causing people to become very fearful. And at such a moment, their only real concern would be the military's ability to defend the country. This would place the military in an unprecedented position of power, as well as absolving them of most of their past transgressions. And therefore, this is probably the only scenario in which the military would be willing to allow the cover-up to come to an end. We must remember that following the passage of the National Security Act of 1947, the military was given the authority to conceal certain programs from elected officials, subject only to oversight by the President, the Secretary of Defense, and a few members of the intelligence committees in Congress. Considering the seriousness of the threat, I'm sure past presidents and any others who were read in accepted the logic behind the cover-up and continued to authorize it. And this is why every attempt to obtain official disclosure has always been unsuccessful. For now, all we can do is continue to study the growing body of reliable evidence and look for ways to protect ourselves and our families, Before the alien presence becomes apparent and a certain amount of panic ensues, we should stock up on non-perishable foods, medicines, and other critical items. I also strongly recommend that you stay away from remote locations such as national forests or wilderness areas, especially after dark. And finally, if you suspect that you or your child may be the victim of an abduction, get in touch with an experienced organization such as MUFON or the Center for UFO Studies and ask for some advice. Now, one of the reasons I thought that this was really interesting was because it was just a couple of years ago. It was in July of 2023 when I was contacted by someone who was a former Air Force mechanic. And this person had related a very strange story. He basically told me that the Air Force has a alien implant removal program and that he was subjected to this. Anyway, I want to play you a little piece from that podcast from a couple of years ago. Check this out. A few weeks ago, I received an email message from a person who lives out west in the United States. I'm not going to say exactly where this person lives. And this person wants to remain anonymous. He's a former Air Force propulsion specialist. And he contacted me, and he believes that this is something that people need to know about. And he believes that there are other people like him that know about this program that have been exposed to this. And maybe this will be something that will cause some of them to start speaking out, because he believes that there has to be most certainly other people who were exposed to this program. Now, this person, again, he doesn't want his name to be known, and that's understandable. And I did check out I looked into it and make sure that this person is a real person. And I did find out that, yes, indeed, this person actually was in the Air Force. So he's a real person. It wasn't some hoax or something like that, as far as I can tell. This person is real. The phone number was real. The guy's name is real. This person actually lives in the place where he says he lives. So let's get that out of the way right off the bat here. So anyway, he contacts me, sends me this email, explains everything, most of it anyway. I didn't understand at first what I was reading. I never heard of anything like this before. I never heard of that the military has an alien implant removal program. But apparently, according to this guy, at least the Air Force does. And I guess if the Air Force does, I guess that would be to go for Navy flyers too, right? But anyway. So he contacts me and he says that what happened was in the early 2000s, not long after he, joined the Air Force. I guess there was a physical that was administered, and then some months went by, and then him and two other guys apparently were approached and told that they needed to travel to this naval medical facility in San Diego and to have some sort of a surgery. He had no idea what was going on. He had no clue. But anyway, so he ended up having to travel out there. There was a friend of his apparently went with him, from what I gathered I talked to this guy on the phone in addition to reading this email that he sent me. So he travels out to San Diego, and once he's in this medical facility, he meets privately with this doctor, and this doctor has a X-ray showing him an X-ray of this guy's head, and he pointed out that there was a Tylenol-sized object embedded inside of his jaw. And the doctor started asking this Air Force specialist, did you ever have any strange experiences? All these weird questions he started asking him. Did you ever see anything strange in the sky? And the guy did. He said when he was a kid, him and his mother had seen a flying saucer hovering in the sky not momentarily, for a few seconds, about 30 seconds, hovering there, and then took off at tremendous speed. And so he told the doctor this, and then eventually the doctor explained to this guy that what's inside you is an alien implant, and they want us to remove it, right? And not only did they want to have it removed, but he actually saw a carrier box that once it was removed, it was to be placed in this carrier box and sent off to some research facility at Edwards Air Force Base. Again, can I prove all of this? No. Is this guy telling me the truth? I don't know. But again, let's think about it. It does make sense, though, doesn't it? We'll get into that later. However, this doctor said to him. This doctor said because of his Hippocratic oath, he doesn't feel that he doesn't feel like that it was right to remove this object from him. He doesn't think that it would be a good thing to do because it would scar him and other reasons, right? So apparently this doctor was just going to come up with an excuse for his superiors and not take this object out. and send it off to this lab like he was ordered to do. And instead, the doctor said, told him, well, you have some wisdom teeth coming in. Even though the wisdom teeth weren't causing many problems, then we'll remove these wisdom teeth now for you, so to prevent any issues down the road. So he didn't go there it ended up that he did not travel to this medical facility for nothing. He traveled there and he ended up getting his wisdom teeth taken out. So the implant stayed there. The implant stayed there. Now, eventually, he did have to get that thing taken out at some point. I'm not going to get into all of that because, again, I want to make sure that I don't want to say anything that might lead to the identification of this person. This person really wants to remain anonymous. The only people he's ever told, besides me, according to him, are people in his immediate family. So that's why I want to keep it, say as little as possible. But the bottom line is, this guy claims that there is an alien implant removal program, and he was told so by this doctor, and that was the reason that he was sent to this medical facility, was to have this thing removed. The doctor didn't do it because of his Hippocratic oath. The doctor also told him that if the day ever was to come that this thing didn't show up on an X-ray, and you don't have any scars, that means these alien beings removed it. Or if it ever turns up where you do have it removed and you do have scarring, that means some human beings removed it. That's the kind of strange things this doctor was telling this guy. But it was confirmed that there was an object inside of him later on during a subsequent operation years later. But I guess this goes to what we're talking about here. We're talking about an alien implant removal program. Are there other people out there that were in the service that had experiences like this, that were told, hey, you got to get this thing removed from you, there's an alien implant in you? Were they told about this? This guy says he was actually told by this doctor that he had an alien implant, and that the military wanted it to be removed. Now, apparently, this guy wasn't somebody who was flying around in aircraft. He was somebody who was working on them. Okay, so I guess from this doctor's point of view, another reason for not taking it out, I guess, was because, well, he's working on the aircraft, he's not flying around in them. Okay, maybe that's the reason why the doctor felt it was okay to maybe let this one slide. But I guess you could understand why the Air Force would be concerned with something like this. If somebody has an alien implant in them and they're going to be flying fighter jets, well, what might that might lead to something, right? What if they get abducted in mid-flight? What if the aliens? Nobody really knows what these things are doing. Why they put these implants in them? What if somehow the aliens use that thing inside them, the implant, to somehow control a pilot while they're in the air and do something? I guess there are reasons why they have to do this. If in fact this is true, again, I don't really know. I can't prove it. All I have is the word of this guy. But again, I've never heard of anything like this before. But it does make sense, though, that they would have a program like this. For one thing, let's face it. If you accept the reality that there's a presence here that's non-human, right? An intelligent non-human presence on this planet, right? That has technology that exceeds anything that we have. Once you accept that, I do, right? I do for a lot of reasons, as many people do. I've had my own experiences. I saw one of these beings, right? So I know that there's something here. I've seen one of these craft up close, right? So I know that something's going on. So once you accept that part of it, right? You accept the reality of it, and you understand that there have been many, many people throughout the decades that have claimed to have alien implants, and some of them have been removed, and we'll talk about that later. And they've been removed, and they have properties that are unearthly. So I guess it makes sense that the Air Force, the military, would be concerned about people coming into the Air Force, right, or other branches of the service that are going to be in planes flying around, right, and they have alien implants inside of them. So they would want to have those things removed, because who knows what those things are being used for by these beings that are here. To a lot of people out there, this sounds, I'm certain of it, it sounds absolutely insane. Because it sounds insane to me as I'm saying it right now. However, once you accept the reality that there's something here, once you accept the reality that these beings are putting implants inside of people, you had people like Dr. Roger Lear actually remove implants from people. Actually, Jeremy Corbell, the filmmaker and UFO investigator, did a documentary on this some years back. It was called Patient 17, and it was about the 17th person, the 17th operation that Lear had conducted on an alien abductee to remove an alien implant. And then these things get examined by other scientists, and they're determined, well, they're unearthly. We have no explanation for it. So it's, I mean, once you accept that there's something here, right, and that all these people who say that they get abducted by aliens, and some of the people who say that they actually were implanted with things, right, once you start to accept that, then you can understand that, yeah, okay, if that's real, if you do accept it, then you would understand why the military would have concerns with regard to this kind of thing. They would definitely not want to have somebody flying around in a jet fighter that has alien implants inside of him or her, right? They would want to make sure that those things are removed before they ever get to that point. But anyway, the person I was talking to again, he was concerned. Like, he thinks that he wants to get this out there. He says, this is what he said in his email. He said he wanted to get this event out to the world so anyone else like him can start adding things up and figure this out. And he goes on to say that he saw his first saucer as a kid with his mom, and it was in broad daylight and in perfect weather. It was out west. He said it was only 100 yards away. Okay, this thing was only 100 yards away from them, and then it disappeared. I ended up, when I talked to him on the phone, he expanded on this. He said it disappeared from sight, and then he had an interest in UFOs since then, starting from that point. Like, as he grew older, he thought about them. And that was actually, he said, one of the reasons he joined the Air Force. He wanted to learn about new technology and fighter jets and all that kind of stuff. He wanted to work on them, and he thought that would be something he had an interest in it. And he thought that incident when he was a kid helped to that desire to be part of something like the Air Force to flourish. So when he joins the Air Force Base, at Edwards Air Force Base, he said the doctor actually also told him that there was a lot of patients that he sees. This doctor that he had met said there are a lot of patients that he sees. He's saying that he hopes that more people find out about this, more people who know that they've been exposed to this program and will step forward and speak out about having alien implants removed from them while they're in the Air Force. Okay, he thinks that this will help maybe spur other people to do what he's doing right now by going public with this. He also said he never was signed. He as far as he knows, he said he doesn't remember ever signing any non-disclosure agreements about this, and he thinks that was because, how could he? I guess because if he was the target of an operation, and maybe he's not even sure if the doctor was supposed to tell him what he was telling him. That was another aspect. He doesn't know how this works, but the doctor did apparently tell him the truth about what was inside of him. And so he doesn't believe that by talking about this that he's breaking any laws, because he never did sign any non-disclosure agreements. So there you go. And I think it makes sense. I would imagine that that there is a program like this. There would have to be, right? I mean, I know that there are aliens here, and I know that the government knows this, right? I know that they're covering it up. So obviously, right, there must be a program like this. I mean, obviously, alien implants are a real thing. I mean, we've seen this demonstrated time and time again. We've seen different documentaries over the years where people had these implants removed, and scientists have no answers as to what the purpose of these objects are and how they got in there. So obviously, this would be something that the Air Force, the Navy, obviously they would be interested in this and concerned about it. And you would not want someone who has an implant to be flying an aircraft that's owned by the military. I think there could be problems with that if what my source here says is true. I mean, that could be a concern. They probably have no idea, or maybe they do. Maybe they know more than we do, but maybe that's what he was stating, is that these objects could be changing the minds of people, have the ability to do that, and all of a sudden, someone who's an abductee, they are also become part of the Hive after time. As crazy as it sounds, I know it sounds crazy, but these are possibilities when you realize that this is a real phenomenon and there is something really here. But anyway, I had a lot of thoughts about this, and I want to. Basically, this is almost, when you think about, when I was talking about yesterday in the previous podcast, I had a different hypothesis. The reason why the government doesn't want to talk about this, about the reality of the situation, the reason why we're going through this slow disclosure is because there's going to be a lot of fear. And that's one of the reasons that they don't want to talk about this, because what are they going to say? They have no control over these creatures. They're just completely outmatched, right? Outclassed in every way technologically. And so I had some other thoughts on this, and I actually wrote it out because I thought I didn't want to just I didn't want to forget anything. Let's just put it that way. So let's go through what I wrote out here earlier today. And basically, I started off here saying, coattailing on the hypothesis discussed in the previous episode, the following could be the explanation for everything that is happening. Number one, aliens, since at least the 1940s, have been engaged in a hybridization program that involves creating half-human, half-alien beings and sprinkling them throughout society in an effort to eventually completely take control of the planet. Insectoid aliens are the beings apparently in charge of this clandestine operation, and they are served by biological robots that come in the form of the so-called short and tall gray aliens. Reptilian creatures, and possibly the so-called human-like Nordics, which may be some type of advanced hybrid, also serve the insectoids. The second point here, factions embedded within world governments have for decades been attempting to duplicate any and all alien technology recovered from UFO crashes in an effort to someday have the wherewithal to fight back against these invaders. While militaries of the world recognize that successfully reverse engineering recovered alien craft would also give them great advantages over other powerful countries, that is only a secondary consideration. The main focus has been to get the human race on even ground technologically with the alien presence, hence the decades-long continuing cover-up. And then the third point I make here is the alien abduction program is integral to the non-human intelligence efforts to create the alien hybrids. Not only do the aliens extract human sperm and eggs from humans during abductions to create hybrid forces, the beings also implant devices into them. The devices could serve various functions, including introduction of artificial molecular machines, or AMMs, into abductee bodies. Over time, the AMMs change the dynamics of host brains, thus transforming subjects into unwitting members of the alien hive mentality. And then number four, the fourth point. Some branches of world militaries, such as navies and air forces, secretly X-ray recruits to determine if any of them have alien devices implanted within their bodies. Because of the uncertain nature of the alien agenda, militaries realized long ago it is not prudent to have service members, particularly pilots, possibly under the control of the alien presence, thus leading to the creation of secret alien implant removal programs. And then the fifth point. Efforts to disclose the reality of the NHI presence began in earnest in 2017 with a New York Times article detailing secret government UFO programs and leaked Pentagon videos depicting unknown craft flying in the sky that were filmed by military pilots. It was determined that the cover-up would become untenable as the world moved forward. The plan involved the consistent bombardment of stories related to the UFO phenomenon onto the public, the emergence of UFO whistleblowers, legislation designed to make transparent UFO secrets, consistent debates on whether aliens are real or fake, constant news articles about UFOs and aliens, etc., were all part of a plan conceived by those sitting on the secret for decades to slowly make the public aware that the phenomenon is real. Because of the stigma the acronym UFO had conjured in the minds of the public because of deliberate disinformation campaigns, the people in charge changed it to something else, UAP, which at first stood for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena and was later changed to stand for Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. Now, before we get to the sixth and final point, I just want to point out that to me, right, it's possible, and I know I talked about this before in a previous show, it's possible, right, that a lot of the people we see in the UFO community on both sides of this discussion, they could be friends in reality, and this is all performance. That's all it is. It's just all theatrics. It's all a big part of the plan, this slow disclosure plan to avoid what they call catastrophic disclosure. Right, that's all this could be. A lot of it, but some people are just useful idiots and they don't know any better. But there could be that all of this stuff we see in the news, all the stuff we see on the internet, people fighting back and forth, arguing with each other about what's real and what's not real. Does this object we see in this video represent an alien craft, or is it a balloon? All of this stuff. It wasn't like this before 2017. Let me tell you something, folks. It was not like that. Things have changed drastically ever since that New York Times article came out. It's a different world. It's a different world. The whole UFOs is looked at in a whole different way, and it's changing. It's for the better. But it seems like it's part of a plan. Like this is all theatrics. It's like a Shakespearean play almost. To be or not to be. That's what it seems like to me sometimes. Anyway, moving on to the sixth and final point that I make here. The deliberately slow, controlled disclosure process that began in 2017, of course, has experienced some unforeseen problems. The people behind this sometimes theatrical performative effort obviously did not plan for an alien craft to land in the backyard of a Las Vegas family in 2023, a case that finally produced enough evidence within the public domain to show unequivocally that there is an alien presence here on Earth. The response by the slow disclosure crowd has been to ignore this incident and pretend it means nothing. Suppression tactics have also been employed. So there you go. You have to ask yourself a question. We have the best evidence we've been talking about here on the podcast. I don't even need to say what it is. We know what it is. We know what we're talking about. We have the best evidence, but yet all these people, right? They're still showing us pictures where we don't even know what we're looking at. We're looking at, like Arrow actually just released another video this week. I don't know what it is. Some people say it's a balloon. Some people say it's a non-balloon. Actually, Arrow determined it was a balloon somehow. Who cares? You don't know. There's no answer to it. We're never going to know, right? And that's how it's been, right? But it's the whole their purpose, it seems, is to keep this in the public's mind because somebody realized, I believe, in the Pentagon, people in the Pentagon, all this talk too that we hear about people in the Pentagon fighting amongst each other and about whether it should disclose the truth or not. Maybe that's all BS too. How do we know? This all could be a plan. We're all being played. It's all like a performance. That's what all of this could be. I'm just saying this because to me, right, isn't it funny when you really think about it? We finally have something where you could say, look, there's no question about it now. There are aliens on this planet, no doubt, 100% guaranteed, right? But yet nobody wants to talk about that. And you see what's been going on. I just talked about yesterday. Ancient Aliens was supposed to talk about that Las Vegas case in their first episode. Now I learned just recently that got moved back to the 10th episode, and I would not be surprised if they don't even air that one at all. Think about it. I think a lot of these groups are concerned. I mean, think about this. Okay, all these shows that have already been produced by all these different channels like the History Channel and all of them, all over the last 20, 30 years, right? A lot of these are still being shown. They're still making money off them. What's going to happen when the proof finally is, when people realize, wow, it is real? All those other shows that were produced in the past that wondered whether it's real or not, they become useless, right? I mean, who wants to watch something where they were still wondering if it was real or not? That could be a concern on their part, too. There's just so many different things here going on. So many different possibilities on why certain groups would want to keep this bottled up when you really think about it. And I also believe that a lot of people in the control group, a lot of people who are part of this slow disclosure effort, they think the stuff, they don't want the public to know about this yet. It's out there. There's nothing they can do about it except suppress it and pretend it doesn't exist, or, what are they going to do? They don't even. A lot of them won't even bring this up. They won't bring it up. They won't talk about any of the assertions that I make. They won't talk about any of the things that Scott Roeder has said, or anybody for that matter who is talking about this case. They're too afraid. They're too afraid to try to debunk it. They're too afraid to analyze it because they know all that's going to do is put people's attention on it. So they just pretend it doesn't exist and suppress it on top of it. So there you go. I think that this is what's been going on over the years, and you can understand why. There could be concerns at the top that, hey, we need to have a slow disclosure. People aren't ready to know too much. We got to just dole this out very slowly, very slowly. That's what's going on. Something to that effect, probably. I mean, again, all this is hypothesis. I can't say for sure 100% certainty, right, about all. And this is just a hypothesis, all of it. But I just thought it's interesting to talk about. It's a good mental exercise, if you so to speak. Anyway, I want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.